What is this production?
Oh!
And the thing that I really appreciate about Tank is he's a dog. That kind of that what he just said. You can put them earmuffs up and go at it. He kind of will assess you as well, and whatever he needs to do, he'll do it.
Jake Paul reacts to Gervonta Tank Davis's viral training footage, and fans can't stop talking. Jake Paul has weighed in on the newly surfaced sparring and training footage of Gervonta Tank Davis that's been setting social media on fire, and his reaction has everyone buzzing. The viral clip shows Davis looking sharper, faster, and more explosive than ever as he gears up for his next fight. Fans immediately began speculating whether the undefeated knockout artist is entering the absolute peak of his career. But Paul didn't just focus on the highlights. He pointed out the massive difference between their natural fighting weights. Davis, known for dominating the lighter divisions, typically competes between 133 and 135 pounds and has never officially weighed above 140 in a pro bout. Paul, on the other hand, is a natural cruiserweight, walking around and competing near 200 pounds, a gap that's more than just a few divisions. It's several. And when the difference is that extreme, it's not simply about skill. As Paul noted, the heavier fighter usually carries clear advantages in durability, raw power, punch resistance, and physical leverage. At that point, it's not just about who's faster or more technical. It's about who can take a shot, stay standing, and keep firing back.
Something else that's unfortunate is the idea that Jake Paul might actually fight Gervonta Tank Davis. This can't be real. When it came up a couple of months ago, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to cover this because there's no way it's real. There's no way they're really going to do that because it makes no sense. Why would you do that for him? Outside of it, like, okay, you can look at it like an exhibition, which it will be, and we'll take a look at some of the rule set for it. But Gervonta Davis is one of, if not the best, biggest names at 135 pounds, and is an active in his prime fighter. I don't want to hear the similar to Floyd and Logan thing, because at that point, Floyd was retired. Floyd had done all he needed to do in the sport. Tank is still in his prime, still has multiple high-level opponents that he needs to fight. And you can say, oh, you know, the Jake would be a one-off. Side quest. That's fine, but that just tells me that Tank doesn't care about being a high-level champion in the sport anymore.
Carmel Moughton reflects on sparring a young Gervonta Davis. Carmel Moughton recently looked back on a memorable sparring session he had with Gervonta Tank Davis when he was just 15 or 16 years old. Moughton admitted he was nervous going in, but said the matchup quickly turned into a chess match rather than a brawl, a test of timing, speed, and counterpunching more than sheer power. He recalled that Davis never went full force or tried to knock him out. Instead, the two exchanged angles, adjusted rhythms, and traded clean technical work in a calculated, strategic session. Moughton said Davis's strength was immediately apparent, but in terms of pure skill and quickness, it was a back-and-forth battle. He described the experience as fun, challenging, and an important learning moment that helped shape him as a fighter.
What was it like when you sparred him? I know you sparred Tank early on. Yeah. What was that experience like? Like, replay that experience for me. Like, you coming out of it, what was your thought?
Yeah, I was nervous at first. I think I was 15 at the time we sparred, so he wasn't really, like, trying to knock me out or nothing like that. But we was going, like, he was using the speed on me. Like, we was both, like, going speed for speed, and it was great. It was like a chess match.
Did you understand in that moment, like, why he is who he is?
Yeah, I seen why he's able to beat these guys. Then I also seen why I'm so, like, I got all this hype around me, too.
Sean Porter defends Gervonta Davis over potential Jake Paul exhibition. Former world champion Sean Porter has come to Gervonta Tank Davis's defense amid criticism of his rumored exhibition bout with Jake Paul, saying that many critics are missing the bigger picture. According to Porter, the fight isn't about proving greatness or chasing legacy inside the ring. It's about securing long-term financial stability for Davis and his family. Because it's an exhibition, Porter noted, the risks are limited by agreed-upon rules and safety measures, making entertainment the main objective. He emphasized that professional boxers often face short, uncertain careers, and that taking opportunities offering both exposure and financial reward is simply smart business. From Porter's perspective, Davis stepping into an exhibition with Paul isn't selling out. It's protecting his future while still giving fans a show. Porter's comments underscore the ongoing tension in boxing between legacy-driven purists and fighters focused on life beyond the sport, a reality every athlete must eventually confront.
They're trying to make it safer and, all those sorts of things, but there's still this pureness to boxing that really doesn't exist in sports anymore, but it's still there with boxing. I think that's why people have such a problem with this kind of move from Tank Davis.
Is it more the heart? How do you guys feel being boxers?
Man, like once you hear the numbers, I'm like, they're talking, like, I don't know the official one. They're talking about like 100 mil.
Oh, damn.
Like, they're talking about these insane numbers. Like, I'm gonna be like, don't take that. I'm not gonna tell another man not to take that type of check, especially for something like that. It's not on your official record. It's an exhibition. I'm not gonna lie here and act like I'm not gonna say yes to 100 million or something like that. But I do see exactly what you're saying about the essence of boxing. I wish they would kind of separate it a little more, because exhibitions have always been a thing. There's always been an argument.
Right.
But they're just selling it like a real fight almost.
Right.
So I think that maybe if we could create a better like distinction, more of a difference,
Right.
there might be less hate on it. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not going to tell Tank not to take that fight.
And I said this last year. I said create a influencer title. And let those guys fight over there in the influencer world. They can live the world and the life of I'm a world champion without having to do something like this. Now, the issue for this that I have is you have a legitimate 135-pound champion fighter getting in the ring with a 190-pound guy, whatever it is that Jake Paul is at. So now we already let's really answer this thing.
Critics question the competitiveness of a Davis Paul exhibition. In contrast to supporters, many fans and analysts argue that despite the hype, the massive weight difference makes a potential Gervonta, Tank Davis versus Jake Paul matchup more of a spectacle than a truly competitive fight. Even promoters appear to recognize this reality. Reports suggest that special safety measures, including a catch weight around 195 pounds, the use of larger gloves, and the classification of the event as an exhibition, are being implemented to limit risk and highlight entertainment over competition. For critics, the real issue isn't just the weight gap, but the disparity in experience and pedigree. Davis has faced and defeated world-class champions at the highest levels of boxing, while Paul's resume remains built on a handful of celebrity and crossover bouts. Many envision Davis using his elite speed and precision to dart in, land clean shots, and make Paul look sluggish despite the size advantage.
Great fighter.
Chael Sonnen calls Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis a letdown after Anthony Joshua talks. MMA analyst and former fighter Chael Sonnen has criticized Jake Paul's decision to pivot away from a potential showdown with Anthony Joshua in favor of pursuing a bout with Gervonta Tank Davis, calling it a major letdown compared to what had been teased. According to Sonnen, while Davis is a phenomenal talent inside the ring, he isn't known for his ability to sell fights or drive hype outside of it. Tank lets his fists do the talking, Sonnen argued, but he lacks the promotional flair and media savvy that Paul has carefully built throughout his crossover boxing career. Sonnen acknowledged Davis's world-class skill and credibility as a fighter, but maintained that, without Paul's promotional engine, the matchup wouldn't capture the same level of global attention. In his view, the fight's success would depend less on the clash of fighters and more on Paul's ability to create a spectacle that sells tickets and headlines.
It is the exact opposite of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul for 2. So the fight that was being dangled and rumored in front of us, the exact opposite has happened. The opposite of fighting Anthony Joshua is not fighting nobody. The opposite of fighting Anthony Joshua is fighting Tank Davis. Okay, so there's one big glaring issue for me. It's just your partner being Tank Davis. Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. It could be a title fight, a contenders fight, a main event fight. He could be the favorite. He could be the underdog. Tank doesn't know how to bring that information to you guys in a way that is compelling. And Tank is already blinking in this situation. You have one guy who is argued amongst the pound for pound current greats in boxing. You have another guy that has suggested he should not even be allowed to box, that he should have to call it something different. He should not be licensed. He should not be ranked in the top 14. He should never be selected for a world title. Okay. Now, Tank has one job to do, which is to let anybody know that's listening that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport.
Gervonta Davis's changing view of Jake Paul. Over time, Gervonta "Tank" Davis's perception of Jake Paul has clearly evolved. Early on, Davis dismissed Paul as little more than a loud, attention-seeking spectacle, a YouTuber dabbling in boxing for fame rather than genuine competition. He openly scoffed at Paul's claims and treated him as a sideshow act in the sport. But as Paul began taking his training seriously, racking up fights, and demonstrating genuine discipline, Davis's tone gradually shifted. He has since acknowledged Paul's work ethic, mental toughness, and commitment in the gym. While Davis still doesn't view Paul as an elite-level boxer, he's become more open to the idea of facing him, influenced not just by Paul's steady improvement, but also by his undeniable drawing power and global audience.
How about Jake? What do you think of Jake?
Clown. He's a clown. I know that Jake can't fight. He can't fight. So
would you look at it as a joke if your team was like, yo, we want you to fight Jake Paul? Would you be like,
yeah,
on, man?
I laugh at him. You want me to fight him? At first, I didn't like how Jake Paul was coming because of how he was making it look. But now that I see that, I feel as though he's still a clown because that's his personality. I'm starting to respect it because he's not doing it like for the hype. He was really like trying to be a boxer. I think that he's decent.
Yeah.
Like he's good. I mean, he's not good, but he's going that way.
Is he better than you thought he'd be?
Yeah. Gotta be mentally tough to be able to box. So that's why I don't take that away from some fighters or some people that want to jump into the sport. So just show how tough you are. That's how it should be.
Jake Paul's win over Chavez Jr. changes the conversation. Jake Paul's recent convincing victory over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has dramatically shifted how he's viewed within the boxing world. Respect for Paul, once seen merely as a crossover entertainer, has surged following the performance. The bout, held in Anaheim, shattered the venue's gate revenue record, surpassing even events headlined by established world champions. The achievement signaled not just fan curiosity, but real commercial traction. Prominent figures such as Oscar de la Hoya have since praised Paul's growth, suggesting he could soon become a legitimate contender for world titles. Even Manny Pacquiao acknowledged that, while skepticism remains, Paul's dedication, discipline, and improvement can no longer be ignored. Analysts also noted how the fight elevated Paul's technical credibility, highlighting his ring control, patience, and ability to maintain composure under pressure in a hostile environment.
Canelo Alvarez fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. We promoted that fight many years ago. Didn't knock him out, couldn't hurt him. So imagine if Jake Paul can hurt or even wobble Chavez Jr. It's something that Canelo didn't do or couldn't do. So Jake Paul, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., it's a real fight. Yeah. Look, people keep talking about Jake Paul, well, he's not a real fighter, this and that. Well, he's fighting a real fighter now in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. It's going to be a good test for both guys. Obviously, Jake Paul, he's a masterclass promoter in what he does. He's been doing some great things. I mean, Mike Tyson, 60 million people. Fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who, when he trains, when he gets in shape, when he's focused, he will be dangerous for anybody. Look, Canelo Alvarez fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. We promoted that fight many years ago. Didn't knock him out, couldn't hurt him. So imagine if Jake Paul can hurt or even wobble Chavez Jr. It's something that Canelo didn't do or couldn't do. So there's a lot of stories to come out from this, a lot of great stories for Jake Paul. So I just feel honored and proud that we can team up with MVP Promotions, with Jake Paul, and we can make Zurdo Ramirez with Torticos the mandatory. That's going to be a bloodbath in itself, so we're excited.
Jake Paul declares his second chapter, aiming for real boxers and bigger challenges. Jake Paul has officially announced that the next chapter of his boxing career is underway, and this time, he's setting his sights on real boxers across the divisions. Following his decisive win over Andre August, Paul revealed that he's moving away from crossover or MMA opponents to fully commit to the traditional boxing route, targeting legitimate professional fighters. In a recent CNN interview, Paul emphasized that he plans to face everybody, particularly the biggest and toughest challenges where he enters as the underdog. His goal, he said, is to prove himself in the ring rather than just on social media. That mindset has carried over to his public platforms, where he's repeatedly stated that this new phase isn't about spectacle or celebrity matchups. Instead, Paul wants to build a lasting boxing legacy, taking on credible, ranked opponents to show he truly belongs among the sport's elite.
So everybody's been calling you out, Daniel Dubois, Ryan Garcia, all these people. Who's the most enticing to you?
I don't know, I want to fight them all, to be honest. I just need the time. So I probably will literally fight all of them. So they're all enticing to me.
Georgia blocks Paul Davis exhibition over weight concerns. Event moves to Miami. However, the massive weight difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis proved too significant to ignore. The Georgia Athletic Commission ultimately declined to approve the matchup, citing safety concerns stemming from the wide gap between the fighters' natural divisions. As a result, Paul's team withdrew their permit application in Georgia and decided to relocate the event to Miami, where organizers hope to move forward under more flexible exhibition regulations. The shift underscores how complex major crossover fights can be behind the scenes. Athletic commissions must weigh safety, fairness, and competitive risk, not just financial potential. For Davis, Georgia's rejection highlights the lingering skepticism surrounding the matchup and whether he should even share the ring with a fighter several divisions heavier. For Paul, however, Miami offers a new stage that fits his brand perfectly, flashy, headline-grabbing, and built for spectacle. The move not only changes how fans perceive the fight but also reshapes event logistics and reminds everyone just how delicate the business side of boxing truly is.
There's no way in hell this fight was ever going to happen. And the fact that y'all believed it, I don't know, you're stupid. So Rick Thompson, chairman of the Georgia Athletic Commission, told USA Today Sports that Paul's promotion company withdrew its request for permits and a rule waiver, citing the 65-pound weight difference between the fighters. The Rick Thompson guy straight up said they've been promoting something they should not have been. Come on, guys, use your brains. Y'all boxing fans, you understand this. This fight was never going to happen. This is the article from USA Today. It says the status of the proposed fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis under scrutiny because of the weight discrepancy between the two fighters. Rick Thompson is coming out and saying this stuff because he said he believes it's in the public's best interest to know that they've been promoting something they should not have been. Communications director for the Office of the Secretary of State told USA Today Sports the event will not be happening. But funny enough, tickets are still available. You could still purchase them online, and the fight is still listed on the State Farm Arena event.
Critics question the integrity behind Jake Paul's boxing rise. Critics argue that Jake Paul's rapid rise in boxing has been fueled not only by savvy promotion but also by a certain disregard for the sport's traditions. Many claim that by enticing retired legends back into the ring with massive paydays, Paul risks undermining boxing's integrity and blurring the line between competition and spectacle. Even icons such as Mike Tyson have been drawn into Paul's orbit, their comebacks sparking excitement among fans but also raising serious safety and ethical concerns. To purists, the practice reflects a shift in boxing's priorities, from legacy and merit to entertainment and marketability.
Out there taking on Mike Tyson that's pushing 60 years old, for crying out loud, but at the same time pretending to be like this badass motherfucker, sending me DMs talking. He offered me a contract a long time ago. And I was like, what are you doing? I'm a retired fighter and I've got one eye. Why would I want to fight you? I wouldn't lower myself to doing that. I know a lot of people do that. They do lower themselves, if you want to say that. because of the payday, because Jake Paul is a big name. He is a social media sensation. He's a YouTube star. And now, of course, in the world of boxing, he's one of boxing's biggest stars because he puts on these spectacles like Paul versus Tyson, like Nate Diaz, because these are the fighters, these are the names that attract the eyes. Jake Paul is the B-side to almost every single one of his fights. When he fought Nate Diaz, people were tuning in for Nate Diaz. His last fight, against Cesar Chavez Jr. Apparently no one watched that fight. Apparently the pay-per-views were ridiculously low. So this one's going back to Netflix on November 14th, and it's an exhibition bout. Of course, it's an exhibition bout because no athletic commission in their right mind will sanction this fight. There's just no way you can make this a legitimate fight because of the size advantage. Typically, this would be very, very dangerous and someone could get really hurt. If Jake Paul was to swing as hard as he could and connect and wobble him and hit him many, many times and not knock him out with the bigger gloves and the concussion possibilities and the brain rattling around inside the head and Jake Paul just teeing off at him as hard as he could, it's dangerous. That's why fights like this can't get sanctioned. That's why this is a exhibition bout and not a real matchup. Now listen, they're both going to get paid tremendously. They're going to make a ton of money and a lot of people are going to tune in and watch it on Netflix. Fair play.
The spectacle and the statement. In the end, the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis spectacle perfectly captures how blurred the line between sport and entertainment has become. What some dismiss as a mismatch, others see as a high-stakes business play, one that offers both men enormous exposure, career-defining paydays, and entirely new platforms. The weight disparity, shifting venues, promotional maneuvering, and ongoing debates over legitimacy will continue to swirl around this bout. Yet for fans, critics, and insiders alike, the true intrigue lies in how these two vastly different fighters handle the pressure, perception, and consequences when the lights finally hit the ring. Whether history remembers it as a circus or a turning point in crossover boxing, one thing is certain. The ripples from Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis will be felt long after the final bell.
Optically, visually, seeing that go viral, and I mean go viral, and Jake Paul will never hear the end of it.
Let's help you up. We're going to see about it. Help you up. We're going to see.
Because Gervonta Tank Davis is not only a real boxer, he's a real boy. He's 5'5". He's a lightweight. Skills pay the bills. Let him knock out Jake Paul, give him Bambi legs, or knock him down. Gervonta Tank Davis, that moment will go viral, and he will be a far bigger, well-known boxer than he is today, and he will also be a hero. And that's the Black Two Sugars. That you guys don't want to admit it. Don't bull jive. Think about it.
The viral moment that could redefine Tank Davis. Optically, visually, if that moment ever happens, it's going viral. And when I say viral, I mean everywhere. If Gervonta Tank Davis were to drop Jake Paul, give him those Bambi legs, or even score a clean knockdown, Jake would never hear the end of it. The internet would erupt. Because, let's be real, Tank Davis isn't just a boxer. He's a real fighter, a natural lightweight, standing 5 feet 5 inches, built on pure skill and precision. Skills pay the bills, as they say. And if he delivers that viral highlight, Davis won't just win a moment. He'll win a massive leap in fame. That knockout would make him a mainstream hero, transcending boxing circles and dominating every social media feed on the planet. It's the kind of moment that turns a world-class fighter into a global icon, and that's the truth some people don't want to admit.